And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of MLB DFS Quick Hits, your Tuesday, June 8th edition. Hope you're ready. Good Monday. 3 games. Couple are still wrapping up here as we talk. Told you it was kind of a slow whatever evening, and we have a big one for you on Tuesday. We got a big one. 15 games on Tuesday. Every team in action, at least to start with. Watch the weather in this one. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you can check me out on Twitter at BDintric. If you have any other questions, hit me up on Twitter or in the Fantasy DGen Slack chat. It is free. Also, my written content at RotoBaller.com Monday, Wednesday, Friday is premium. Join the premium package for the rest of the season for at least $69. And if you use promo code Bubba, you get a special discount on top of that. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have the free DraftKings column, so make sure to check that out on Tuesday over at RotoBaller.com. Also, if you give a rating and review on iTunes of the podcast, MLB DFS Quick Hits, I would truly appreciate it. If you're into PGA DFS, the Always Pressing PGA DFS podcast with myself and DFS Golf Gods, previewing the Palmetto Championship has dropped, so go check that out. Always Pressing PGA DFS podcast. And last but not least, for you season-long fantasy baseball people out there, the Benched with Bubba podcast. 2 episodes this week. Tuesday night, recorded with Vlad Sedler at RotoGut, the legend himself. And on Thursday night, one with MLB Moving Average, Big John Stud. So big week at Benched with Bubba. Some good stuff coming your way. But you're here for some MLB DFS quick kicks action. 15 game slates. We'll get you in. We'll get you out. Let's talk about some totals on this game. Atlanta Braves, Philadelphia Phillies 8.5, Dodgers Pirates 8, Mets Orioles 9, Rockies Marlins 7.5, Astros Red Sox 10, Brewers Reds 8.5, Mariners Tigers 8.5, Nats Rays 7.5, Giants Rangers 8.5, Yankees Twins 8.5, Jays White Sox 8.5, Indians Cardinals 7.5, Royals Angels 9, Diamondbacks Athletics 8.5, Cubs Padres 7.5. So not a lot of high totals, surprisingly, on this slate. I get like 1 or 2 9s in there. The rest are below 9. And it makes sense because we have an evening of aces on our hands. But watch the weather. I will say that much. You have Mets, Baltimore. It's around 25% chances of rain. Atlanta, Philadelphia, 30%. Dodgers, Pittsburgh, 30%. Milwaukee, Cincinnati, 20%. Houston, Boston, 30 to 40%. Seattle, Detroit, 10%. Toronto, Chicago, 10%. Cleveland, St. Louis, 45%, but it dies off as the evening goes. And then Arizona, Oakland, wind blowing out to left field at 14 miles an hour. So you have 2, 4, 6, 8 games with potential rain involved. All of them look like they should play, but just something to keep in mind. You might have late starts. You might have some interesting situations in general. So keep an eye on the weather. But let's get to the pitchers on this 15-game slate. There are 2 guys over 10K, leading off with Shane Bieber, 10-3 at the St. Louis Cardinals. Biebs has been outstanding this year, coming off a nice 25.6 point performance against the White Sox. He had a couple hiccups there against Minnesota and Seattle, but outside of that, has been a 6-inning plus machine with the strikeouts of 7 or more in pretty much every single start. Now you get a St. Louis team. Watch the weather, as we talked about, but over the last few weeks against right-handed pitching, the Cardinals are striking out about 22% of the time, hitting 234 with an 85 WRC plus. Bieber is outstanding. We know that going into it. Really solid option, but I'll be honest, I don't think you need to pay up for the Biebs tonight. I don't think I'll be paying up for the Biebs tonight. If I'm paying up, I'll start with Tyler Glasnow at 10,000. Still not sure I'm paying here, but I'll take the $300 savings from Bieber to Glasnow against the Washington Nationals. Outside of a hiccup at Toronto, which happens, Glasnow has essentially been a 20-plus point to 30-plus point performer start after start after start. Strikeouts have been there, and he gets a Washington Nationals team that you can definitely pick on, striking out 23.5% of the time. First right-handed pitching over the last few weeks, hitting 229 with an 81 WRC plus. So you can definitely pick on the Nationals with your right-handed pitching, and we're going to do so with the one and only Tyler Glasnow on tonight's outing. So keep him in mind as you're looking. But if you want to save some more money, you can go to the next guy down. $200 cheaper than Tyler Glasnow is Walker Bueller at $9,800. I said it going into the season, and I've said it on every episode that he's been in the rotation, a chance to play on, that they take it slow with him, they work it up with him, so on and so forth. Well, they've been doing that. And over the last 4 starts, 98, 105, 92, 103. The pitch count is there, and he's getting you 20 or more DK points in 5 of his last 6 starts, or as far back as 6 of his last 8 starts. So the floor is outstanding with Bieber. 6 or more innings pitched in every start this year. 1 earned run or less in all but 3 starts this year. And the strikeouts have started to show up, and that's been the big key for Bieber. Early on, the strikeouts weren't there. It seemed like he was just getting his innings in and seeing where it goes. But now these strikeouts are arriving, and he goes into Pittsburgh against a Pirates team you can pick on in a big, big way. They're striking out 22.5% of the time against righties over the last few weeks, hitting 230 with a 121 WRC plus, or the 121 ISO and an 80 WRC plus. The Pirates can be exposed. We know this, and Walker Bueller is outstanding. He's a $500 savings off of Shane Bieber, $200 off of Glasnow. If I have to rank these guys, I got Bueller, Glasnow, and Bieber in that order, but by matchup, by price, that's where I go. I think Glasnow might have the highest ceiling out of the three in this matchup. St. Louis just doesn't strike out enough for my liking. Can anybody do it? Sure, Bieber could, but also he might get pinch hit for at some point in time. That's something you have to consider in the National League ballpark. He also doesn't face the DH, so he's got pros and cons all over the board. Give me Glasnow over Bieber. Give me Bueller and the savings over the rest. If you want, like in cash, I'd go Bueller. If you want the ceiling play, go Glasnow in a tournament. That's how I break these two down, going between the two. Now, you got Rodon and Ray facing off Toronto, Chicago. I'm just going to pass. I'm not going to be cute. 15-game slate. If it's a smaller slate, I'd maybe throw some shekels out there. If you're doing a 20 max, if you're doing the bankroll challenge, yeah, you'll have a little Ray and Rodon. That's how it works. But they're not one of my top targets. I'd rather just get to Walker Bueller up top there, or I'll drop down. I got a couple guys in the 8K range. Big fan of on this slate. Chris Bassett, $8,800 at home against the Arizona Diamondbacks. This is Bassett coming off a rough one at Seattle, which is very rare for Chris Bassett. He's been absolutely outstanding this season. Prior to that, two just phenomenal starts against the Angels, struggling against Minnesota, then dealt against Boston, Toronto, Tampa, Baltimore. He has been a machine this season. He's $8,800 at home against an Arizona Diamondbacks offense you can pick on, striking out nearly 28% of the time over the last few weeks, 216 average, 0.099 ISO, and a 66 WRC plus. This Arizona offense is bad, folks. Like really, really, really bad. So give me some Chris Bassett at $8,800. One of my favorite pitchers. If you're not paying all the way up, zero problem with Bassett. I think he's a great cash game play. He's a great tournament play. Maybe one of the best plays on this slate, period, when it comes to points per dollar accrued. So I'm a big, big fan of Chris Bassett at $8,800. Next on my list, you just go down to 8,000. Alex Wood at the Texas Rangers. I think Wood's very, very viable. Coming off a rough one against the Angels, he was due for one, guys. He's been absolutely outstanding this season, and I watched that start. He had no command at all. He had no feel for anything. He was struggling just to throw a strike. I don't know if it was less sticky stuff or what it was, but Alex Wood did not have it in that start. I expect a bounce back in Texas against the Texas Rangers, a team striking out 21% of the time versus lefties over the last few weeks, with a 222 average, a 102 ISO, and a 70 WRC plus. So they might not, the Rangers might not strike out a lot versus left-handed pitching, but they also don't do much with it. So Wood at $8,000, phenomenal play. You could pair him with Bassett. You could pair him with the Glasnow Buellers of the world. Very good situation there for Alex Wood to find a nice bounce-back spot. Some nice contrarian plays like Jomo at Minnesota. Minnesota's been scuffling a bit. They still got, see if Cruz plays. Cruz sat out on Sunday. I believe he banged up his knee on Saturday. So keep an eye on that. That would obviously help. There's some other issues with that Minnesota offense. So Jomo at 79 can be a nice tournament look against the Minnesota Twins. Marco Gonzalez, as great as he looks against Detroit, he threw 50 pitches in his first start back from the DL. They're going to limit him for the time being, they said. So just keep an eye on that. If they unleash him, we missed out. But it is a great matchup. Detroit is hitting better, though. So you got to think about that as well. Marco would normally be a nice play at 76. I'm going to pass, though, just because all things considered. A lot of people are going to want Andrew Heaney at 71 at home against the Royals. If you want to go there, I get it. I always get Andrew Heaney wrong. I like the Royals tonight, but I could see some Andrew Heaney. It's like if you're doing the 20 max or something, I kind of want a little bit of both because literally it's boom or bust for Heaney. But the Royals are striking out over 25% of the time the last couple weeks, hitting 263 with a 188 ISO and a 103 WRC plus. So they're swinging well versus lefties, but they also strike out a lot. So Heaney, it's just one of those weird situations. And there's not a ton of value on this slate. Like after Wood, it's really like grasping at straws for me here. Until I see lineups, I'm really not running to play guys like Chris Bubic at 63. He catches my eye. He wasn't great against Minnesota his last time out. But the start before that against Minnesota, outstanding. Struggled against Detroit, Milwaukee, and at Detroit, dealt. So he's a $6,300 pitcher. He's volatile. That's what you're going to get. But the upside is really, really big with Bubic. But he's also been very lucky with the BABIP gods. And they kind of regressed a little bit the last time out. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're using Bubic. But you do have a Los Angeles Angels team striking out almost 27% of the time versus left-handed pitching. 228 average, 187 ISO, 94 WRC plus. So they strike out a ton, and they hit for a lot of power, but nothing else. That's what you're getting with the Angels right now. So, you got Bubic at 6,300, makes for a nice value. Definitely something to keep in mind. But that's where I'm looking at the pitching. There's going to be tons of value bats on a 15-game slate. So you got the Bieber, Glasnow, Bueller. Remember, I got it Bueller, Glasnow, Bieber. Bueller more the cash game play, Glasnow more the ceiling tournament play. But I like them both a lot. Rodon and Ray are intriguing tournament plays. I'm just going to pass. But if I had to pick one of the two, I would take Ray over Rodon just because of the matchups in general. Love Chris Bass at 88, one of my favorite plays. Pablo Lopez, didn't mention him. He's 87. He's kind of an interesting play, probably more cash than tournament. I don't see the ceiling with Pablo, but at home against the Colorado Rockies at $8,700, definitely a guy that you can build around in a cash game. I love Bassett more, but I could see the love for Pablo in a cash game setup. Alex Wood at 8,000, a really, really solid play. Nice bounce back spot against Texas. They got Jomo at 79 and Bubic at 63 is kind of where I'd be looking at the rest of the pitching on this slate. All right, bats, 15-game slate. Catcher's position. Now, I know last week I did a couple slates game by game. I usually always do position by position. Guys, give me some feedback. Let me know what you like on Twitter, Slack chat, rate and review the podcast, and let me know on that. Let me know which method you like the most, because I'm here for you guys, so I can do either one. But today we'll go positions on a 15-game slate. You got Sal Perez at 5K. If you're paying up, he's a great pay-up spot, obviously. He's been just absolutely crushing things. 5 homers over his last 10 games. Double-digit point machine. He's really solid, and so is Buster Posey at 49 versus Jordan Lyles. The Giants is a stat guy I like a ton. They should be popular. You'd hope they'd be popular, but you never know. So Posey at 49 I like. I don't mind JTR at 47 versus Smiley. Watch the weather in that one. He did go deep over the weekend, but I kind of like Posey a little more than JTR on Tuesday, but both very, very good plays. Now, if you want to save some cash, Sean Murphy at home against Duplantier of the D-backs, $4,200, and you get a bad D-backs bullpen afterwards, and Murphy is heating up. The quality of contact numbers are through the roof as normal with Sean Murphy, so $4,200, really good price point for him. Going down, though, like Mike Zunino, always a tournament play versus lefty. He gets John Lester. He's $3,900, tournament only, because he might strike out 4 times, but it does come into play at $3,900. Tucker Barnhart at 34, don't mind him against Hauser. And his teammate Tyler Stevenson is 33. Stevenson's hitting the middle of the order. He's playing first base with Joey Votto out. So you have Stevenson and Barnett both for Cincinnati. Stevenson's $100 cheaper and probably a better spot in the order, but both very, very live in their situations. You could look to Jorge Alfaro at 33, picked up a stolen base on Monday. That was pretty impressive. But other than that, like Martin Maldonado versus Martin Perez at 27. I like Vic Caratini. He's one of my favorite values on this one. Caratini at 27 versus Zach Davies stands out in a big way. So does Max Stassi versus Bubic. If you're not using Bubic, Max Stassi does look good. And so does Pedro Severino at 25 versus David Peterson or Daniel Peterson. If you're looking for some savings on those ones, and there's always Eric Haas. I didn't mention him, but Eric Haas. We talk about him in the Slack chat. I write about him all the time. Like, the dude's a freaking monster. So he's always a tournament play in these nice matchups that Detroit has, again, on a Tuesday. First base position, you got Vladito against Rodon. He's always going to play at 59 if you so choose. But Pete Alonso's slowly getting going since he's come back from the IL. He's 5,800 versus Bruce Zimmerman. If you're paying up, it's not the worst pay-up spot. Not sure I'm running to play there, but you could. Trey Boo at 54 versus Peterson. I'm going to be back on Baltimore. I've been playing them a ton lately. No point in stopping the night against Peterson. Going down farther, though, Matt Olson at 52. He's crushing baseballs. It was a lot nicer when he was a lot cheaper than this, but his Coors pricing stuck with him, and we have to just deal with it. He's hitting 343 over his last 10 games. He's $5,200 for Duplantier. He's more of a tournament stack than a one-off play. I will say that much. Reese Hoskins, Philadelphia versus Drew Smiley. Again, big fan. Mentioned that with JTR. Reese Hoskins at 47. I'll jump on board with that against Drew Smiley. Eric Hosmer at 46 versus Davies. If you're stacking San Diego, I like that quite a bit. If you want a tournament play, Miami's swinging it pretty well over the weekend in Pittsburgh. They get Sensatella. It's at home, though, which kind of stinks, but you get Sensatella who you can't hit. Aguilar was on fire over the weekend. He's got 3 home runs over his last 10 games, 2 in his last 3 games. He's someone to keep in mind at 4,500 that you can build around at a nice cheap price tag. Yuli Gurriel loves hitting lefties. One of my favorite, I guess, not pay-up spots at first base is Yuli Gurriel. Loves hitting lefties. Martin Perez has been very good, but Yuli loves hitting lefties. He's got 10 or more points in 3 out of 4. He's got 9 or more in 4 straight games. Really swinging a hot bat right now. Multi-hit games in 3 of his last 4. Having a strong season hitting 325. So Yuli versus Perez at 44 is a nice play because we love Yuli versus the lefties. Jonathan Scope, Fuego, straight Fuego. He's $4,200, hitting 405 over his last 10 games with 6 home runs, 9 total extra base hits, crushing baseballs. He's $4,200 versus Marco Gonzalez and the Seattle bullpen. He's first base, second base eligible. So you're going to want to get some scope in your life depending on how many lineups you're building this evening. Ryan Mountcastle, another guy that's just straight on fire. Wrote about him in the outfield waiver wire piece this week. But Mountcastle, 3,600 versus Peterson. He's first base outfield eligible, so he is in play for you as well. Mentioned Tyler Stevenson. He's catcher first base. The same thoughts with Aguilar if you're stacking Miami. I'm not saying it's a stack, but there's intrigue there. Like if you want to be super contrarian, I could see some Miami action for Sensatella. I just wish it was in a different ballpark. But Garrett Cooper, first base outfield at 33, brings a little upside there. Lamonte Wade Jr., he's 3,300. It was so nice when he was like 2K for us. He's first base outfield eligible. Giants, I mentioned it with Posey. I love the Giants tonight against Lyles. Belt might be back, but if not, you got Wade at $3,300, probably leading off at first base versus the lefty or the righty in Lyles. Ty France, he's 32 versus Boyd. Not a bad look for you in that one. A few others if you need to save some cash. Oh, the ultimate cash play. First, you get Mitch Moreland at 27. He'll be back DHing. Couldn't do that in Colorado. He'll be back DHing at 27 versus Duplantier. So that's a nice discount with Mitch Moreland. But if you just want a super punt, we love fading Carlos Martinez on this show. We love it. Well, our boy, he's going to be our boy now, Bobby Bradley. The dude is 5 for 5, he's 4 for 5 since getting called up with 2 doubles and a home run. He's $2,000 left-handed first baseman for the Cleveland Indians versus Carlos Martinez. So Bobby Bradley, super punt, GPP play against Carlos Martinez. Don't hate that one at all. Mentioned there'd be value at the bats, folks. That's why you can pay up for pitching. Bobby Bradley, $2,000. Second base position, you got Marcus Semien, who's always cash viable. Not as strong as usual with Rodon, I'll be honest, but still a good spot there for Semien at all times. I'd rather have Altuve at 52 versus Perez or Whit Merrifield at 51 versus Heaney. Both elite plays at their position tonight. Jazz Chisholm at 49, very, very intriguing. Had a rough Monday in Boston. Gets to come home and gets a better matchup for Sensatella. If you're stacking Cleveland versus Carmart, always in play. Cesar Hernandez is only $4,800, so not hating that one at all. Jake Cronenworth's only 43 versus Davies. Big fan of that one if you're saving some cash. If you want to fade Aaron Nola, who's had a little ups and downs of late, Ozzie Albies is only $4,100. That's a nice little savings. I didn't mention Freddie Freeman. Like if you're stacking Atlanta versus Nola, if you're going super contrarian, then yeah, still use Freeman. But Freeman was expensive. If you're going kind of like one-offs, Albies at 41. He's been hitting 4th or 5th in that lineup. That's got some sweet value to it. So there's a difference between the two. That's why I'm not stacking Atlanta personally at this point in time. So that's why I didn't mention Freddie Freeman. But Ozzie Albies at 41. It does ring at least a one-off type tournament type bell for me. If you're not using Alex Wood, Nick Solak's cooled down a bit, but he's 36. At 35, though, if you want to save it at second base, Jonathan India, he is really stroking. They put him at the leadoff position over the last few games, crushing baseballs. He's got multi-hit games in 3 of his last 4. He's homered in 2 of his last 3. He's put up 10 or more points he's put up 9 or more points in 5 straight games. So he's $3,500. Really nice value. Love the Reds versus Adrian Hauser in Great American Small Park. Usually you want lefties versus Hauser. You can stack it up with a $3,500 Jonathan India leading off for the Reds. That looks very nice to me. We'll get to the main attraction. We'll get to the outfield because he's still too cheap on this slate, but we'll get to that, man, shortly. But India, like him quite a bit. A few others at second base. Brendan Rodgers, always intriguing. It is Pablo Lopez. I respect that, but he's very cheap. Nick Gordon, if he cracks the lineup, he's an okay play. Jose Rojas for the Angels, if you need a super punt at 2,800. Rudy Odor is a good tournament play, 27 versus Pineda. Pineda coming back from the IL. The Yankees could be some nice action for you there. And Odor would be a nice value in that situation. Other than that, there's not a ton that comes out at like a Christian Arroyo at 2K if you want a super punt versus Framber Valdez. I'm not looking to attack Framber Valdez, but Arroyo at 2K would be a decent tournament option. Third base, you got Bregman versus the lefty Perez. Love it, love it, love it. Everyone loves Perez. Perez has been great. He's making a pitch mix change. It's been great. Houston is swinging hot bats, and they have guys that love hitting lefties. So I'm probably going to fall deaf to that trap and have some Houston action. Bregman at 56, I like quite a bit. You could go Yohan Moncada in a tournament if you want, but Jose Ramirez at 51 versus Carmart, I'd rather do that. In his situation there, Jonathan Josh Donaldson versus the lefty Jomo at 48. Also checks the boxes for us. Anthony Rendon versus the lefty Bubic at 44. Not a bad play, but I'd rather have Eugenio Suarez at $4,200 versus Adrian Hauser. Nice piece of the Reds action there. Manny Machado is only 4,100 versus Zach Davies. That's way too cheap. Way too cheap for Manny Machado. So don't forget about that at 41. Patrick Wisdom is also there at 4K versus Lamet. I honestly like Machado better than Wisdom in that matchup, but both nice little values in pretty decent situations because Lamet won't be long for the ballgame. You got Gio Urshela is only 3,600 hitting the middle of that Yankees order versus Pineda. That's not too shabby as well. Luis Urias is probably playing second base for the Brewers with Colton Wong out. He's second base, third base eligible. He's 3,200 versus Sonny Gray. Not a bad discount for a guy that's got some nice pop in his bat right now. Hunter Dozier, $3,100 versus Heaney. Good for a tournament play. And then other than that, maybe Travis Shaw punt if you need it. I'd rather not use Travis Shaw punts. I'd rather not need a Travis Shaw punt, but that's about it at the third base position. Shortstop position, you got Tatis Jr. Always in play. He is 5,800 versus Zach Davies. Xander Bogaerts versus Framber at 54. Sure, I'd rather probably pay up for Tatis, or you can run on glass now if you can get on base. So Trey Turner at 55 is interesting. You just got to get on base. If you can get on base, you can run on glass now. So Turner at 55 could be a nice play, a nice tournament play, because not many are going to A, attack glass now, and B, have the upside a guy like Turner has against glass now because he doesn't have to go deep to succeed. He can literally walk, steal a bag or two, score a run, Yahtzee. So Trey Turner at 55 is quite intriguing, actually, in this one. Mentioned Jazz Chisholm at 49, but Carlos Correa is only 48 versus Perez. Really, really strong play there. Francisco Lindor might be an extreme value because the price still hasn't really caught up. He's starting to hit the baseball, folks. Mentioned it last week. Starting to get it done. He's $4,600. He's at home, or he's on the road against Baltimore. Good matchup versus Bruce Zimmerman. Before the over on Sunday, he had multi-hit games in 3 of his last 4. He had 12 or more DK points in 3 of his last 5. He had 9 or more in 4 of his last 5. Before that over on Sunday, he was starting to slowly heat up. Offers will happen. See how he bounces back on Tuesday. But he's only $4,600 and a good matchup versus Bruce Zimmerman. So keep an eye on some Francisco Lindor. Below Frankie, though, you could go Joey Wendell, but I prefer Gleyber Torres at 41. Gleyber is really swinging it well, hitting 300 over his last 10 games. The home runs still aren't there yet. But, he's got 12 or more points in 3 of his last 5 games, 17 or more in the last 2 games. He's hitting the ball really, really well right now, really improving on things. So Gleyber at 41 is a nice value. Brandon Crawford at 38, an outstanding play. Left-handed bat versus Jordan Lyles. Like that a lot. You could go to Gavin Lux at 37. I'd probably rather go to B-Craw, but Lux is just fine. Med Rosario, we like him more versus lefties than righties, but it's Carmarks with 34. If you're stacking them up, that's definitely in play. I mentioned Brendan Rodgers earlier. Other than that, like he got Tanner Walls at 2,900 if you need to go there. He could be a cheapie with Tampa Bay. Otherwise, there's pretty much paying up the rest of the way at shortstop. Outfield, there's going to be tons and tons of outfield. That's just common sense here. You got Acuna Jr. play versus anybody. Meadows versus the lefty Lester. I don't care. He is hitting everything. So he's in play for you. Like Rosarena at 55 versus Lester. That's quite intriguing in his matchup there. Christian Yelich, he's so still, I wouldn't say getting it going yet, but he looks a lot better. Let's put it that way. So he's got that tournament upside at 5,200 or at he's 5,000. I wouldn't use him in cash, not a chance. But definitely if you're stacking against Sonny Gray or you want a one-off in that matchup, there is appeal to Christian Yelich at $5,000. Not gonna deny that one bit. Going below 5K though, you got Betts at only 49 is a really good price tag, but I prefer Starling Marte at $4,900. The dude, multiple hits on Monday, home runs, stealing bags, doing it all. The dude's a monster. Even his singles are hit so freaking hard. His home run to left center field at Fenway was an absolute bomb. He's $4,900 for Cincinnati, really good price point there. Drew Smiley gets Bryce Harper tonight. I'll take Bryce Harper at $4,800. Yep, check that box. I don't care if it's lefty. Juan Soto, a nice tournament play versus Glass now. Not the worst thing in the world there. You got Belly Bombs at 47. But I kind of hinted at it earlier. I love the Cincinnati stack versus Adrian Hauser. Jesse Winker went deep 3 times on Sunday. Triple dong on Sunday. He's still $4,600 versus Hauser in Great American Small Park today. Sometimes DraftKings just doesn't get it, folks. Just doesn't get it. And I'll have way too much Jesse Winker. And if he doesn't go off, so be it. But he's got at least double-digit points in him again tonight. against Adrian Hauser. That's just too good of a matchup. You got Castellanos at 45 if you're stacking up the Reds. He is definitely part of that stack. Adolis Garcia's up to 4,500 if you're attacking Wood. Not horrible, but I'd rather have the Casty and the Winkers at that price point. Grichuk at 43, some nice value versus Rodon, but Andrew McCutchen, $4,300 versus Drew Smiley. Kutch is really swinging at hitting 294 over his last 10 games, averaging almost 10 points per game over his last 10 games. Really hitting it well. He's hit safely in 6 straight games, multiple hit games in 3 of his last 4 games, double-digit DK points in 3 of his last 4 games. So the Kutch at $4,300, really nice spot leading off against Smiley, a part of your Philadelphia Phillies stacks. Mark Conant at 43 always has some cash game appeal with tournament upside in a stack. You got C-Dick at 42 versus Sensatella, only if you're stacking Miami. Don't use him as a one-off. Ian Happ, $4,100. He's in play if you're stacking the Cubs. I definitely can see that. He had 3 hits on Sunday. Haven't seen what he's done yet on Monday night, but he could be an intriguing option for you there. A few other ones to take a peek at. You got Cedric Mullins at 4K versus Peterson. Don't worry about the lefty. He's doing just fine with that. Alex Dickerson at 4K versus Lyles. Nice piece of a giant stack. Really nice piece. We want those lefties in that matchup. I mentioned Eric Haas at catcher. He's 39 versus Marco Gonzalez. But Justin Upton at 39 leading off for the Angels versus Bubick. Definitely in play for you there. Andrew Vaughn with 11 versus lefties. It is Robbie Ray who's pretty good, so keep that in mind. But you could go Andrew Vaughn in a tournament. Same with Hunter Renfroe. It's Framber Valdez, but in a tournament, Vaughn and Renfroe are interesting. I'd probably rather have Renfroe than Vaughn, to be honest. But both are interesting plays in a tournament. Probably not using much of them, though, myself. I'd rather have Ryan Mountcastle at 36. Like that quite a bit. Benintendi as in part of your Royal stacks versus Heaney. Eddie Rosario at 35. Very streaky, but slowly getting it going. Nice play versus Carmart. You got Schwarber in a tournament versus Glass. Now, if you're hoping for that home run call. Garrett Cooper at 33. Mentioned him earlier. Santander switch hitting versus Peterson's only 3,300. Mentioned Lamonte Wade Jr. at 33. Alex Verdugo can hit lefties. Again, I'm not looking to attack Framber, but Verdugo's still super cheap. I do like Manny Margot quite a bit at 3,100 versus Lester. He usually leads off or hits 4th versus lefties. Still, either way, great spot in the order. So you got Margot at 31, like that quite a bit. Mentioned Dozier at 31. I'd rather have Margot in that matchup. If you're fading Bueller, Brian Reynolds only $3,000. Nice little tournament one-off. At the same time, you get Steven Duggar at 3K versus Lyles. Check, please. Love me some Duggs at 3K. Really good price point there in that matchup. Below the 3K, you got Talkman at 29. If you need to go there, I don't think you'll need to, but he's in play. Jorge Soler's $2,800. He went deep on Monday. Another nice value there versus Heaney. Harold Ramirez against Carmart's only $2,700. That is stupid cheap. Dude's hitting 344 over his last 10. I talked about him a lot recently. I've written about him a lot recently. He's hit safely in 5 straight games, multiple games in 2 of the 5. He has 12 or more DK points in 3 of the 5. He has 5 or more in every game, and he's $2,700 versus Carmart. He hits cleanup for Cleveland. That's a heck of a play at that price point at $2,700. So again, DK falling asleep on that one. It is Carlos Martinez of 2021, not Carlos Martinez of like 2015. Different guy. A few others here. You could go Kyle Garlick leading off for Minnesota against the lefty Montgomery at 27. If you're looking for that tournament value with Garlick, I'd rather have Harold Ramirez in cash compared to Garlick in tournaments. So something to think about in those two. Then other than that, like Gregory Polanco, probably not doing that dance tonight. But Edward Olivares, if he cracks Kansas City's lineup, he's 25 versus Heaney. Jackie Bradley Jr. is 24 versus Gray. If you're looking for some GPP type one-off situations here. So check the lineups, see what comes out. Join us in the Fantasy Degen Slack chat. It is free. We'll take care of you and all the good stuff there. Recapping your pitching real quick on this slate. You got the Biebs, Glasnow, and Bueller up top. I love Bueller overall, especially in cash. Glasnow has the higher ceiling, so if you have to go there, you can. But give me Bueller and Glasnow in those orders. Bieber's a great play, but I'll take the savings and potentially some nicer matchups as well. Chris Bassett's probably my favorite pitcher price per dollar situation here, $8,800, points per dollar, I should say. Pablo Lopez at 87, nice cash game look. Doesn't really have the ceiling I want in tournaments. Nice cash game play. You have Alex Wood at 8,000, outstanding value. I think it's a really good bounce back spot versus Texas. You got Jomo at $7,900, and then Bubick as well. Maybe some other values will stand out if we get some nice discounts coming our way. Last but not least, when you're looking at stacks, you can always go Dodgers if you want. Not one of my top stacks. Love Philadelphia versus Drew Smiley. Love Baltimore versus David Peterson. Two big fans there. Cincinnati versus Adrian Hauser is one of my favorite stacks of the entire slate. You could go to Miami if you want, but those other ones I like a little more. Houston versus Boston's intriguing. You go farther down here. Love the Giants versus Texas. Like the Reds and the Giants, my two favorite stacks right now. That's where I'm kind of sitting on things. You could go New York versus Pineda if that tickles your fancy. Cleveland versus St. Louis is a nice sneakier one. Cleveland's offense is just so bad, but we're going to keep targeting Carmart. Royals versus Heaney as well. Oakland versus Duplantier is a nice nightcap, but right now it's Giants and Reds for me as my main targets, and you can sprinkle in some other goodies throughout the slate. But that'll wrap us up. 30 minutes, just over 30 minutes, 15 games, massive slate. Again, hit me up on Twitter at BDentric if you have any questions. Join the free Fantasy DGen Slack chat. We have the always pressing PGA DFS podcast previewing the Palmetto Championship has dropped. Check out my Twitter for that. You also have Benched with Bubba coming up twice this week, Vlad Sedler, and MLB Moving Averages, Big John Stud. So two good shows coming your way there. Written content at rotoballer.com. Free Tuesday DraftKings article. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is premium. So use promo code Bubba to get a discount on the rest of the MLB season long, and DFS all in one package. But with that being said, good luck on this Tuesday. I'll be back with you guys on Wednesday. This was MLB DFS Quick Hits, your Tuesday, June 8th edition.